This is James Lupton, delighted to be joined with Ricky Hatton. Ricky, how are you, mate?
I'm great, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, just finished in the gym training me boxers. Yeah, good start to the weekend. So yeah, in good form, good spirits.
Fantastic. I want to talk about potential career highlight of yours, and that is being inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Just how much does that mean to you?
You know, I don't think that words can explain it. To be honest with you, when I first started off boxing, I dreamt of becoming a world champion, but never did I think it would it ever happen. I mean, I think it was clear from a young age. I knew I was pretty good at it, but world champion. No, never expected that, and to do it at two weights and four times over, most definitely not. And but even more to be inducted into the Hall of Fame when I first laced them gloves on the council estate in Manchester and Hattersley. When I first laced the gloves on at 10 years of age, if someone had said to me you'd have been a two-weight world champion and been inducted into the Hall of Fame, I'd have told them they were drunk or there was something wrong with them. And you think you can be a world champion, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Do you know what I mean? So to be inducted in the Hall of Fame and have my name alongside some of the greats of the sport, it's just I thought my days of having awards in boxing were well gone. But it's probably one of the greatest achievements I've had in boxing. It has to be, doesn't it? To be a Hall of Famer in boxing, it's something I could have never ever dreamt of.
Did you ever think of, after you've retired, you've won these world titles at these weights and all the achievements that you had accomplished through your career? Did you ever have an inkling or did you ever have a desire, think, do you know what, I could make it into the Hall of Fame. That's now my next goal. I want to get there.
Well, that's not for me to say. I was just happy with my career, what I did. I was over the moon when I won the British title, you know what I mean? And then when I was able to win the world title, first title I won was a WBU world title, which was a lightly regarded world title. But I fought some 15 defences, some good contenders on it, Vince Phillips, Ben Taki, Ray Oliveira, people like that, so and I was selling out the Manchester Arena, as a WBU champion. But then to become the best in the weight division when I beat Tszyu, it's probably it's gone down as one of the best wins ever in the British ring. That for me, I felt was my Everest. You know what I mean? To be not just to be the champion of the world, to be the best in your weight division of all the champions. That was my Mount Everest. And then just when I thought I'd climbed Everest, then to become a two-weight world champion, then all the trips to America, taking all the fans over to the States, people still talk about it to this day. And even though they ended up in defeats, to fight the likes of Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, and until I made my comeback against Senchenko, which I lost. But there's obvious reasons. The reasons why I made me come back and decided to make me come back. I had my own personal reasons for that. But until me come back, it was only the two best of all time that had beat, arguably the two best of all time that had beat me. So from going from a British champion, a WBU champion, which I was happy with, to do what I did and ended up doing, and then get inducted to the Hall of Fame. I've always been a down-to-earth kid from the council estate. It's fairy tale stuff. It really is.
Throughout the whole of your career, you mentioned there's some massive, massive points through your career. Was there any one standout for you that give you, butterflies in your stomach, that extra buzz, the hairs standing on your arms?
I think the Tszyu, because it was my first big test. As I mentioned, I'd fought in world class, Vince Phillips, Ben Taki, and Ray Oliveira. But Tszyu was another level, wasn't he? He wasn't just, a world champion. He was the best in the division. I think number 2 pound for pound in boxing in the sport. And he was blasting everybody, and everyone fought with my leaky defence, and the fact that I cut and then very attacking minded. I think everybody was behind me. But I think there was a nervousness in the air when I boxed Tszyu. I think everyone thought, my heart's in it, Ricky, and we're all behind you. But the truth being told, I mean, I'm probably going to walk onto one, and he was probably going to knock me out. But so to win it like I did, and in my hometown in Manchester, and make such a formidable champion like Tszyu quit on his stool, and sort of like say no more, leave me alone. I couldn't have written it, to be honest with you. But I think they say your nerves make you better. It certainly made me better that night, and me and Billy Graham had a good game plan. We wasn't going to, jab and move and keep it at a distance like other fighters did, because that's why they come and stuck once it. Cautious who would measure him and get that long right hand on him. We stayed on his chest and tried to smother him and suffocate him, and keep the tempo high and stuff. So it. And I think I was able to maintain the game plan because I was so nervous. Because every time he hit me with a jab, just a little lead right hand or just a little touching jab, it shook me to my boots. Do you know what I mean? Every one of them, just every punch hit me, even just a little rangefinder, absolutely hurt me. So yeah, but I think that's what made me sharper on the night, having that fear factor. Yeah.
How do you prepare for that? Like you say, you're the underdog. A lot of people are supporting you, although they feel you may not get out of this with a win. But also, if I remember rightly, it was sort of early hours in the morning to suit the Australian American TV time zones as well.
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning. But I think I got everything right, to be honest with you. I moved my day. I mean, instead of getting up at 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning, you know what I mean? I'd get up at 12:30, 1 o'clock. And while I'd normally train at 12:30, 1 o'clock, I trained at 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. And then instead of going running at maybe, 8 in the evening, I used to run of an evening. I'd train at 8 in the evening and then I'd go running at 2 in the morning. So I moved my day along, and and I did that for a month before the fight, and it's just to get my body clock on track, and I think it worked. And I think Kostya, for such an experienced champion, I think he thought he was going to knock me out as well. To be honest, I think he came under a week earlier. I think he come 5 days before, which from Australia is a big ask, and so. I think it's all about. It's one thing having the talent and this and that, but I mean, if you have the heart, the desire, the game plan, and the boxing brain to carry the game plan through, which I did. I think my whole boxing went up in everyone's estimations that time. I think I went from an attacking body puncher, an attacking slugging body punching type to, even though I was aggressive, to I think I showed what I've got between my ears a bit.
Absolutely. We mentioned about, obviously, you took a couple of defeats, the Senchenko one later on. You come back after a few years out. Talked about retirement. It's well known you had struggles with it. Just how hard was it for you to retire and leave behind something you've done for so long in your life?
It's very hard for me to retire, but I knew I had to. I mean, I think before the Pacquiao fight, there was probably too many miles on the clock. With my style of fighting, to have 46 fights or 47 fights, whatever it was, with my style of fighting, and obviously the way I lived my life, ballooning up and down in weight, that would have took its toll on my body over the years. So I think there was a lot of miles on the clock going on into the back. But I mean, the fact that I got destroyed in 2 rounds, that's all that made my mind up. Listen, Ricky, it's boxing's finished for you now. You've had a good run, but you're gonna have to hang them up now. And I didn't want to. I knew I had to, but I didn't want to. And then there was a few things that had gone on in my personal life. A couple of fights earlier, I'd fallen out with Billy Graham, who was my trainer and friend. I got destroyed from Pacquiao, so I knew I had to retire. And then I fell out with my mum and dad at the time, and then my relationship fell apart as well. So all this was in such a short window, such a short space of time, and I was in such a bad place. I didn't care whether I lived or died. There was no documentary what happened in the paper and stuff like that, and I totally went off the rails, and it was hard for me to get myself back on track. But when I did, I felt that I'd let so many people in boxing down, and my fans, and just the boxing fraternity in general, with what had happened to me. I felt like I needed to make a comeback, as if to, as an apology, or to get me respect back. And people were saying to me, Ricky, we've all had problems. You're no different. Don't worry about it, Ricky. You know what I mean? It's all right, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if that's what I've got between my ears and I need to get that off my shoulders and out of my head, that's what I need to do. And that's why I made me come back in that for that reason, to be honest. I knew I should have retired, but I felt like, no, I've got to make a comeback here now. And the top and bottom of it is every fighter thinks they've got one more in it, and I made me come back and I found out that I didn't have one more in me. I think I was winning the fight. Senchenko, probably too tough a fight for coming back after what I'd been through to go straight into my first comeback fight against a former world champion. But it wasn't to me. I didn't want to come in and fight a nobody. I wanted to come in and fight someone I know, and if I can't beat him, then that's where you stay retired. And so even though it ended in defeat, it made me clear my mind and clear my conscience, and I think people stood up and were. I think they loved me beforehand, but I think they stood up and said, you know what, we've all had problems, and Ricky's had his, but fair play to him, so I could retire happy then.
So I say, my next question was, did you retire happy after that? Could you now walk away from it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's nothing better than I've still got it in me. I've still got it in me, and then you have the fight. You find out you haven't, because obviously you knocked me out with a body shot, and a lot of people were a little bit, he's not took defeats well in the past, Ricky. Oh, here we go again, type thing. No, it was the opposite. I've never looked back.
I want to talk to you. You've mentioned this before in previous interviews as well. So it's a similar sort of route as well as Tyson Fury. He's been well documented with his mental health issues, and a lot of people feel that he may struggle when he retires and hangs his gloves up. He's said himself, boxing is all he knows, it's all he's got, etc. What would be your advice to somebody like Tyson Fury or anybody who's looking to walk away from the sport?
Well, that's very worrying for me. Tyson obviously says, I'll fight for as long as I can and I'll fight forever. I don't know what I'm going to do without boxing. If you look at it from my point of view, then that's a little bit worrying. But I mean, listen, Tyson will have to cross that bridge. He's got good people around him. He's got a good team around him, a good family around him, excellent wife around him. Do you know what I mean? I think they've got the people around him to give him the right answers. I think at the time I'd fell out with Billy, fell out with my mum and dad, fell out with my relationship. I had no one, not nobody, I wouldn't say. But, all I could think of was doom and gloom at the time. But I mean, when the time comes where Tyson needs to hand up and the gloves up, he's got a good team around him, in order to give him, the best advice. I mean, I had a good team around me, but because I'd fell out with my family, it was everything was doom and gloom for me. But it is a little bit worrying because, I mean, Tyson said, oh, I don't know what to do without boxing. And we all know you can't box forever. But, Tyson will cross that bridge. Tyson's clever than he looks sometimes. He's no one's fool, you know what I mean? He's got good people around him. And I think he'll make the right decisions at the time. He knows there's people he can phone if he needs a little bit of advice, like myself. But my advice is you just got to fill your time with something to do, you know what I mean? You can't, can't just sit there. I mean, I train fighters now. I do my motivational speaking. I'm an ambassador for mental health. I've got my kids. I've got my granddaughter. You know what I mean? I'm training my boxers. I'm doing appearances here and there, keeping myself busy. And along with doing my own personal training, just because you're retired from boxing doesn't mean you can't get in the gym and knock shit out of that bag from time to time. You know what I mean? So it's and that's how I'm getting on with it. And there's no reason Tyson can't do the same. I mean, we're all built differently, but I mean that's what you got to do. You got to find your own. You've got to find another job. You've got to find another thing to fill your time with.
One thing you've done to fill your time was a couple of years ago, you came back for an exhibition. I want to ask you, what was that like, to go back in to train for a fight, although an exhibition, still it's something to focus on. It's, a bit of a purpose to work towards. Obviously back in again as well. What was that like, the whole occasion?
Brilliant, to do it against my friend, Marco Antonio Barrera, a legend of the game, been a friend of mine for years, Marco. It was brilliant. And to get that phone call, we've just come out of lockdown. We've all been locked in our houses. You know what I mean? The country's in, there's everyone's suffering from the mental health. You know what I mean? Everybody's, getting the COVID and this, that, and all the rest of it. Now we've been let out. What about doing an exhibition at the Manchester Arena, like one last dance? Against Marco Antonio Barrera, and I was in such a good place. I thought, yeah, that sounds right, and I can use it not for my own mental health, for my own physical and mental health. I can use it to inspire others, because people knew, what a bad way I was in. I was massively overweight. I was in a bad way. I was drinking. I was taking drugs. I was depressed. I was suicidal. And then, to come out of lockdown, to do what I did against Marco, I think people, again, I have messages on me social media, letters to the gym going, God, Ricky, I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with mental health. I've struggled with my weight problems for years. And seeing how you at 45 years of age can come back and get in that shape and do that and shift the weight, it really has inspired me. So it worked for me, it worked for others. And everyone enjoyed it. It was like, all my mates, used to tell the kids about Ricky Hatton's fights. Oh, we used to go and watch Ricky years ago. Oh, I wish you could have gone, son. They still ended up taking him. You know what I mean? So even their kids ended up getting one last look at Ricky Hatton night. So one of the best things I've done, to be honest with you. And that's all it is in my life now. Everything positive. Things that make me feel happy. Things that are making me feel happy. And in the same process, if they're helping others as well, that's what it's all about for me. Giving a little bit back to people with mental health and giving a little bit back to people in boxing. That's why I become a trainer. If I can pass on what I've got to someone else, really.
Was getting ready for that exhibition a turning point in your life physically?
No, I think mentally I'd already got myself in a good place after the Senchenko fight. Like I said, I'd never looked back. I had put a few pounds on, since the Senchenko fight and everything like that. But mentally, I was in a good place. But for the exhibition fight, I got my weight off. They got my weight down, and I had a little think to myself, because that's the way my world is now. Is trying to do everything positive now and trying to do the best I can for myself and others. But I thought to myself, you're 45 now. You've got that weight off. At 45, if you put it back on, you might not get it back off again. So I put a few pounds on here and there, but I haven't got a six pack yet. But the beer belly's gone. I can see my chin, I can see my cheekbones. So I've kept the weight off, and I feel tenfold better for it. When sometimes when you're depressed, when you're suffering from mental health and depression, and you're overweight, sometimes it doesn't help you. Feeling. You get up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror, you think, Jesus, Rick. But nowadays I get up in the morning, and I look at myself in the mirror and happy with the way, and just if I go to functions or walk down the street or go to the pub, people, hey Ricky, you're looking well. A few years ago, I wasn't looking well, was I? Physically and mentally, I was not in a good place. But when people see me now, I think it makes people happy. Yeah.
Testing. Just the last question from me, Ricky. We're talking about exhibitions, and obviously you was early 40s at the time. I want to talk about Mike Tyson, 58 years old, coming back into the ring against a 27-year-old in Jake Paul. We think it's going to be exhibition rules. What do you make of that? A 58-year-old man to get in the ring with a 27-year-old who is on a boxing journey trying to get to world titles.
I think it's diabolical. I think Mike Tyson is everyone's hero, isn't he? You know what I mean? From a fighter, what an animal he was back in the early days. You know what I mean? And he had his problems, and Mike's took a long time, like we all have when we all have problems. Mike's took a long time to get in the good place where he is now, and everything, which is good. And I just can't see, I just can't. Why would you want to? I mean, listen. If Mike hits him, Mike's rapid. I think Mike's quicker at 58. If Mike hits Jake Paul, he'll knock him into the middle of next week. But at 58, can he maintain it? Do you know what I mean? Would he be able to? At 58 years of age, he's all right looking good on the pads, which Mike does for 58. I wish I could look that good when I'm 58. But to do a 10-second burst, but to do a 6-2s or an 8-2s or a 10-2s or whatever the exhibition may be, is he physically capable of doing that? I'm not sure, but I think Jake Paul's fighting one of his heroes, isn't he? I mean, why would you want to go in there and fight one of your heroes, or maybe dare I say it, beat him up or hurt him or anything like that? You know what I mean? It's like me fighting one of my heroes who are obviously, several years, my heroes, Dyson, Duran and Leonard, and who are several years older than me. I won't want to fight them. They're my heroes. Why would I want to fight? Why would I want to fight your hero? I don't get it. And I know money talks, a lot, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could fight one of my heroes. Why would you want to say Jake Paul was to hurt him. I don't get it. Not enough money in the world, I don't think.
You mentioned about the 10-second bursts and what Mike can do on the pads compared to in the ring. But what about the other way around? What about you mentioned obviously Jake Paul potentially beat him up, the physical side of things and the beating that he could potentially take as a 58-year-old man. That's not going to be clever.
Well, he looks explosive on the pads. He looks in great shape. Makes me feel very, very proud of him. I've met Mike loads of time. But can you at 58? Can you maintain that? And say if Jake Paul, say for instance, gets through the first round, jabs and moves, and keeps out of the way, for the first few rounds, and then what could happen, and then is the body equipped at 58 years of age to take the punishment? It's never mind the giving it out. It's what the body has to take with what's coming at you at 58 years of age. I just think I think it should be taken out of their hands. You know what I mean? I mean, there's not. It's not an organisation. It sounds. Great. I mean, I did my exhibition, but we're both similar weights. Both similar eras. We're both friends, so there's no liberties that's going to be taken. There's an understanding. We can make it competitive and entertaining, but we're not going to look out at but this is a fight, isn't it? No, I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't like to see Mike knock him out because I mean, if Mike hits him full, he do some damage to Jake Paul. To be honest with you, but I won't like Jake Paul seeing him knock Mike out either. I won't be watching it. That's a dead cert.
Absolutely. Well, Ricky, I want to thank you very much for your time today. Congratulations once again for being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.